Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I am John Palacio.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep, it is Hump Day, Belize. It is Wednesday, and the weather is beautiful as per usual.
All right. Yes, it is. We're reaching the midweek point. We're going to get you up to the top of this hump.
Yeah.
More importantly, we're going to tell you what type of weather you can expect along the way. We have forecaster Angelia Guy on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Angelia.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good, you?
Not too bad. Of course, looking forward to finding out whether we'll be seeing that increase in showers that was predicted today.
Okay, yes, we're still expecting, but for isolated showers to occur inland this afternoon and evening.
Okay, so let's talk about that 24-hour forecast.
Okay, we're expecting a few cloudy spells later today with isolated showers and also the chance of an isolated thunderstorm to develop over inland areas this afternoon and evening.
Okay.
And then isolated showers offshore tonight.
All right, and the winds?
Okay, winds will be from the east and southeast at 5 to 15 knots.
All right, any cautions or advisories are expected for people headed out to
Not
sea?
at this time.
Okay, good. And let's talk about the high temperatures. How warm is it going to get?
Okay, the high temperatures today will reach about 86 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 89 inland, and 82 in the hills.
Getting warmer and warmer.
Yes.
All right, and what about tonight? How cool is it going to get?
Yeah, the low temperatures will range from 78 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 70 inland, and 64 in the hills.
Okay. And the extended forecast?
Okay, for tomorrow, we're expecting similar to for today with isolated showers occurring offshore in the morning tomorrow, though, and then inland in the afternoon.
All right. So a shower here or there, that's what we can expect.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
You have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Angelia. We know now what to expect throughout the day today. A shower's here or there, a shower or two here or there, which I think is very good for our country. Remember, we've got our farmers who are out there doing their thing. The crops, of course, they need that water. So all around us, Marlene, we're blessed.
Yes. All right, we're going to get moving into some motivation for this morning, which means it is time for our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Often we get anxiety for no reason, as we're stronger and more capable than we believe ourselves to be. Our capacity to cope successfully with life's challenges far outstrips our capacity to feel nervousness. Yet in the weeks, days, and hours leading up to an event that we believe will test our limits, we can become nervous. While we may have previously regarded ourselves as equals to the trials that lie ahead, we reach a point at which they near and our anxiety begins to mount. We then become increasingly worked up until the moment of truth arrives and we discover that our worry was all for nothing. We are almost always stronger and more capable than we believe ourselves to be. But anxiety is not rational in nature, which means that in most cases we cannot work through it using logic as our only tool. Though you may find it difficult to avoid getting worked up, your awareness of the forces acting on the feelings will help you return to your center and accept that few hurdles you will face will be as high as they first appear.
You know what part stick out to me most is though you may find it difficult to avoid getting worked up, your awareness of the forces acting on your feelings will help you return to your center and accept that few hurdles you will face will be as high as they at first appear. You know, I reckon with it. People, some folks might say that you know, you get anxiety because you haven't prepared, but anxiety is normal. I think that at times, you know, we host a lot of events, and you know how it is with us, and sometimes you know, you go to a spot and on the way, the anxiety you go through, like you don't know what to expect, and I think that's where anxiety comes from. You could prepare or even not prepare, and you know the event, you know exactly what you're going there to do, but the anxiety of what to expect, you know, if you're an entertainer on the stage, then what the crowd is going to do. You know, I think it's all about what to expect. Anxiety could work in, you know, both ways, whereby it could be serious for you, but at the same time, it could bring out a lot for you. For me, it brings out, you know, I could accept where the eye opener is coming from, and I think it's a good one to reckon with.
Yeah, you know, you said two things that I think are I completely agree with, which is one, I want to start off by very clearly saying some people struggle with anxiety more than others, and I don't want the eye opener to seem dismissive of how simple that emotion is. There's some people who need a bit of guidance. Sometimes they actually need some medication to help them to cope with their anxiety, and so that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it is.
I think from what the eye opener is addressing, because mental health and each individual, it's different. But I think that there is a normal, healthy level of worrying that we do. Yeah. What I think the eye opener is trying to remind us is not to get too deep into it. You know, I've been there, you're right. And people are always like, you get nervous? You're on TV all the time. Yes, you do. We are human.
We are.
And I think that it is really important. I learned very early on that worrying or being nervous or being anxious about a public speaking appearance is more so a good thing than a bad thing.
A bad thing, of course,
And a lot of people go through it.
Yeah.
And it's just about finding the right tools that you need, whether it's reframing your thoughts before and reminding yourself, okay, I am prepared. I do know the event. I do know what needs to happen.
Yeah.
I do know what I want to say or what needs to be said.
Yeah.
And kind of having that as your reassurance that you can do it. Sometimes it's a lot of different things that can really just overtake or consume you. But it's remembering that you do have the tools, and it's so absolutely right. A lot of times you get there, you start, and this is with anything. You get there, you start, and you're like, okay. I had nothing to worry about, you know?
Yes.
Which is a great feeling in itself.
It is.
And so I think two things. It's normal, it's natural, but also don't make it so that you become incapacitated, that you say no to things that you don't need to say no to, that you psych yourself out so much that you can't be able to deliver. And this isn't just public speaking, this is athletes, this is a big test anxiety for kids and even for adults who are in higher education. That's tough.
Yeah.
But it's reminding yourself and building a level of self-confidence and paying attention to the things you tell yourself to know, and remind yourself that you do have the skills that are necessary and you put in the work to do what you're about to do.
Definitely.
So I think it's a great reminder for all of us.
It is, and you know, to just sum it up, I'll use exactly what the eye opener says. We are almost always stronger and more capable than we believe ourselves to be.
Yeah.
You know, that's definitely true. I always say surround yourself with good people and have discussions, and whenever you discussions, and you'll find that, you know what, this is where I made that mistake, but because you had a discussion, you'll know exactly how to combat it the next time it comes around, because it will.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how life is. But that was a wonderful eye-opener, Marnie.
That's right, and it's time for some morning tea. And I got a good one for you.
You have
right?
one? Perfect.
Yeah. So, and of course, our morning tea is always a great opportunity for our audience online to chime in, or if you're at home, you can jump on your phone or computer and share your thoughts well. Get on Facebook or Instagram, or make your own post and tag us. So, since Kobe Bryant was died over the weekend, there's been quite a bit of a mixed reaction about the outpouring of love. You know, some people say, well, listen, you know, you're mourning a man you never knew. You're making him out to be a giant. There have been reporters who are criticized about mentioning the rape allegation that he faced in his career, factually so. And they've even received death threats over it.
Yes.
And so, the question today is, should you include what is this blemish in his history in looking at him in his passing?
That's a good question. And because of how the world is, and because we find people on both sides of the coin, you will find that. But for me personally, I believe that memory is the greatest gift of man.
Yeah.
And because memory is the greatest gift of man, God is so good in that, for the most part, especially if you feel that you're close to somebody, you tend to eliminate the negative part of that person's life. And we tend to dwell on the smiles and those things that brought us closer together. And this happens every day in every family, whereby there was something negative about somebody, but at the same time, we always tend to put the negative at a higher weight or a heavier weight than that is negative. Yeah. And I think for those who say negative things about Kobe Bryant, I think that's what they're weighing. They're not saying that he's got an academy. They're not seeing that he's saving a lot of lives. They're not seeing that there are a lot of kids that are benefiting from what he is providing, to families, and how it is for them educational wise. But back to me. For me, I don't think it's necessary, and it's not something that I do.
See, I've seen it, and some of the earlier reports didn't really go into this particular part of his history. And I think given the context, especially in the United States with the Me Too movement, it is particularly touchy. This is something that we tend to do with people in general when they die. You talk about all the good things about them, and you focus on all the good things. And oftentimes some people are uncomfortable thinking, well, he or she did do some things that were not so admirable. So while you herald them for the good qualities, we don't want to acknowledge the bad. Yeah. And I personally feel there's a danger in it. I think we dehumanize people. We make them less human when we extract the flaws from them because we only want to see the good. Naturally, every single person in history, and I'm sure you could go back and dig into the files to some of the great heroes and icons that we celebrate, and you will find things that perhaps don't settle well with you. Yeah. And we don't know them because history doesn't work that way. We don't talk about, what allegations were made against any of the heroes that we champion today. Yeah. And I think that taking it out only continues to perpetuate this idea that, people are so bigger than life, and, that they're extraordinary in who they are. And yes, they can be, but not without their flaws. Yeah. No one is perfect.
Nobody is perfect.
And his allegation was a very serious allegation. I mean, he settled out of court. He apologized publicly and said what he thought was consensual wasn't interpreted as consensual on the other side. So there was an acceptance of guilt. And I think that in looking back at anybody's life, you should be able to, as uncomfortable as it is, be honest with yourself enough to say that was a legend, an icon in what he did professionally, but it didn't mean that he was a perfect human being, because none of us are.
Which is the reality.
Yeah.
So you're totally right. There are some things that must have, a discussion must come out of it. And so what it does... I think
for reporters to report it, they're doing the work. They're putting forward the information and the facts that exist. If you're going to go back to where you were raised and what you went to school, you can't just skip past a rape allegation when you were a high-profile person, and it was really a tough time for fans, and I'm sure for him and his family, and for the victim as well. You can just fast forward and pretend that part didn't exist. It's part of fact.
I think it's just a grieving part that would allow people to say, why are you bringing up such thing? But you're right. There are some things, because nobody is perfect. And there's some things that some folks might reflect on, and it's their democratic right. If that is how they feel, then
So you can't get mad at them. But
Yeah, you can.
that's the morning tea. What do you think?
yeah, chime in on our Facebook
Should
page,
the
yeah.
reflections on the passing of Kobe Bryant include the rape allegation made against him? What do you think?
That's a serious one for the morning indeed. But you know what? We allow for you to chime in on our Facebook page, on Instagram. It's a great conversation starter for the morning, and you're totally right, Marlene. There are some things that we just not able to pass up. Doesn't matter how legendary that you are. But nonetheless, it is a beautiful morning. It is a Wednesday morning, and we've got a wonderful show lined up for you for this morning. As a matter of fact, we get things started this morning with nutrition in the elderly. So we'll have Dr. Doris Sutherland, nutritionist Doris Sutherland in, and she'll be discussing with us for this morning.
All right, and we're going to be highlighting a young Belizean this morning. She was all over the news at the end of last year, I believe, for being able to receive the Caribbean Rhodes Scholar. And so she's for being named the Caribbean Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah.
And with that comes a scholarship to Oxford University. And so we're actually going to have her with us to talk about her journey, talk about what it was like to work towards attaining the scholarship and what it means for her now. So we'll have that as the second part of our show.
Which is a lovely conversation. That much you want to stay for. And finally for this morning, we'll be ending things off with Baker to Vegas 2020. Now we have a crew that these guys could run. And they came out on top. They're top notch. They're Belize's best. And they'll be in to talk to us about the upcoming Baker to Vegas 2020, 4th and 5th April in Las Vegas.
That's right. And that's what we have lined up for this morning. Before we do have a reminder. Of course, we do have an open call for proposals. If you're interested in we're not going to say a lot. If you are at the point where you're ready to propose to the person you love and make that commitment for marriage, just get in touch with us.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to say.
I'll hook you up, man. Things are happening. We also want to say a big happy birthday to none other than Sylvia Bird. A very pleasant morning to you. Happy birthday. It comes from all of us here at Channel 5 and all of us right here on Open Your Eyes. Happy birthday.
That's right. So we're going to take that break now, and we will be back in a few. So stay tuned.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the Belize Bank Limited recognizes the importance of leading the way as we enter into this fast-growing technological world. Our Belize Bank mobile banking app virtually places a number of banking capabilities in the palm of our customers' hands, anytime, anywhere, through the use of their Android or iOS devices. The Belize Bank, delivering a convenient and enhanced banking experience to meet the demands of our customers' digital lifestyle. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
In life, there's always two sides to every story. Good stuff, not so good stuff. Originals, knockoffs. Real news, and fake news too. And that other so-called postpaid thing. Then there is Smart Select Postpaid Plan. Check this out. For just $75 a month, you get 27 gigs of data, unlimited text message, and calls on and off net. Now this is the perfect postpaid plan for gamers, streamers, and social media junkies. Pretty much anybody who talks all the time and lives on the internet fast lane. 27 gigs of data, unlimited calls and messages. Now that's true postpaid. It doesn't get any better than that. Never settle for cheap imitations when you can have Smart's Select Postpaid Plan. Only with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything.
Are you ready? Pulse's Caribbean Model Search is back. This season's contestants head to Pulse Suites at Villarenai to face relentless competition.
I'll send them all of them.
Pulse stars Arain, Michael Simone, and Alicia will push the hopefuls to the limit.
You guys ready?
Who will grab the top spot and become Pulse's next modeling megastar? Caribbean Model Search returns. Brought to you by Pulse and Ellen Veer.
When someone
Welcome back. It is a lovely Wednesday morning, Belize, and we're now moving into our show for this morning. As a matter of fact, getting started with our first segment and nutrition in elderly. Now, in with us, we have nutritionist Doris Sutherland. Doris, good morning.
Good morning to you
and welcome.
To everyone.
And I've got to say, you're looking lovely this morning.
Thank you.
You know, for the most part, it is said that, especially today's day and age and the millennials, we tend to forget the elderly. We tend to forget about their health. We tend to forget what they've taught us, and we tend to forget about the fact that we need to try to keep them healthy and their nutrition at top notch. What are we seeing at this particular point? Especially, we're in 2020, and are people being more cognizant of, especially for the elderly, and in their nutrition?
Yes, you would see that they are being more aware of their health. I work at Mercy Clinic where we see only elderly, and you would see them going to their monthly visit, that they would see nutrition as well.
Yeah.
So they do look into their health and try to follow the advices that we do give as well.
Now, there are particular challenges that comes with the elderly population. I think one of them usually is that they would be more prone to developing the non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension. They just are in a bigger risk group at that time.
Yeah.
Are you finding that to be the case in the elderly patients that you see?
Yes, that is the case. Specifically cardiovascular disease, which is #1 here in Belize.
Yeah. Okay.
But this has to do with not only happening to the elderly population, but it also has to do with your habits as a young adult.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do see those cases, and it also has to do with body changes. Okay, our body naturally starts to have different changes, like for example, bone loss, slow metabolism, and then the way we process food is not the same as when we were younger. So there are changes that require nutritional attention in order for us to be able to correct them.
Excellent.
When we talk about the elderly, we often think of them as more traditional, people who would eat stuff that this is what they grew up on. And anybody could tell you, I grew up on this is what I want to continue to eat. Are we seeing this? Are we seeing them coming in to check on their nutritional fact?
Yes, yes. They would normally mention what they have, okay, and then according to their medical condition, then the advice would be, okay, you can continue having it. But for most cases, things that they grow up eating, you know, like some vegetables, like their bread, they're making their own food, okay, those could still be part of their diet. Okay, it's other things that sometimes, for example, if they would purchase food or they would acquire other unhealthy habits, are things that we would need to change. But for the most part, they're doing well, okay? The only difference is that we do see some of them that have malnutrition, and then on the other hand, others that are overweight or obese. So that is when we would have to try to modify those changes.
You mentioned before that there's some aspects that will just be a part of the aging process itself. So in other words, even if you took great care of your health, eat healthy, maybe exercise, you may be able to delay things like diabetes or hypertension or the cardiovascular disease, but the others, like the bone density issue and just the metabolism slowing down as well, those are, would you say those are inevitable?
No, they are not inevitable. We can make them better. Okay, for example, and the elderly do experience problems with digesting foods. Okay, since their metabolism starts to go slow, they won't really process or absorb foods as efficient as when they were younger. So it's just a matter of correcting their deficiencies. There are many factors or reasons why they would not necessarily get the food that they should be having, and one of them has to do with the side effects of the medications that they take. Okay, we see a lot of people that would take more than 5 medications a day. They tend to have a loss of appetite. The taste of the food isn't the same as when they weren't having any medications.
Okay.
There's also factors like the poor dental health. Okay, you know, there's teeth loss, mouth sores or gum sores that make it difficult for them to consume regular foods. Also memory loss, like early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, they would sometimes forget to eat. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Depression is also a factor. For example, especially those that live alone. Okay, they don't really care for their health as much as when they are together with a family, which would be pushing them a little bit more to be more health conscious.
Yeah. Now, looking at this particular demographic, let's be clear. What's your definition of elderly? What's the definition you're using today?
Okay. Normally, elderly is described as anybody over 65 years of age. Okay. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be experiencing these factors early on, but however, everyone over 65 would be qualified as an elderly.
And in Belize, we see that people do live longer than many years ago, and that's for many reasons, just access to medication, healthcare. And so you're looking sometimes at once you pass 65, you could do 2 decades after. But quality of life becomes so much more important. Is it enough to, at the age of 65, to start doing eating right and exercising and adding other things to your diet to kind of make the final decades of your life better? Like, is it too late, in other words?
No, it's never too late to start. Okay, if you're past 65 and you've never been to a doctor visit, you've never been to a nutritionist, or you've never changed your lifestyle, you've never exercised, you can still do those things. Okay, especially if you have high blood pressure and you want to try to control it, you still can. Okay, it's just a matter of starting early and knowing what to do in order to correct.
What would you say would be the daily nutritional intake for somebody 65 and older, being that we refer to them as, you know, as the elderly? What would be the daily nutritional take for them?
Okay, in calories wise?
In calories, food wise.
In food wise, normally you'd want them to achieve up to 75% of their daily intake, okay, or more. Okay, normally their daily intake would range between 2,000 to 2,500 calories, depending on their weight, okay, and then other conditions as well. But for those that don't get to achieve the 75% of the recommended intake, that's when we need to recur to supplements or to other things to help them get enough calories that they need.
Is there a rise in any kind of sickness within the elderly population? Are you seeing that? You work at the Mercy Clinic as well, or you put some time there. What are we seeing in terms of their health?
Okay, we see mostly people with heart disease, okay, high blood pressure and high cholesterol, sorry, more than anything. And we know high cholesterol is also related to heart disease, so we see more patients like that. And of course there's diabetes, malnutrition, okay, kidney disease, but not as much as heart disease.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be number one.
Wow. Now, before we start talking about the type of food that you do recommend, I want to ask, because what I've seen is that a lot of times the elderly population are the ones who can be most easily duped into believing a lot of the marketing of, you know, this herb does this, this supplement does that, and so they really buy into it. And I want to ask from your experience just how common it is, and also what are some of the things that tend to be very popular that can actually not be very good for your health?
Well, it's okay to consume some of the herbs. However, if you're having extreme medical conditions like kidney disease, liver failure, or something like that, then you don't really want to be consuming any type of herbs and so on.
Yeah.
But if you're only controlling your sugar, okay, there are many things that do work, okay, and then we see it within the patients that they prefer not to take the medications and to drink their, for example, okra water or to drink the moringa every day. It does help. However, they shouldn't rely on this
Solely those
supplement
things,
or this herb to control it.
Yeah.
Okay, you do need to take your medications if prescribed by the doctor, and you still need to eat healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, because then at some point, if you stop taking it, then it might go up again. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to be very careful with the things that you do consume. Always tell your doctor, because you don't want it to interact with any medication that you're taking
course.
as well.
Yeah.
Of
Okay,
course.
so
And can the supplements interact with medication? Because that's always something I think of. You're taking what? Ginkgo, you're taking echinacea, you're taking there's so many supplements you can get. How much of these things can actually work along with, even if you're on cholesterol meds or high blood pressure meds? Yeah.
Well, some of those supplements that you just mentioned are already banned from the FDA, so you're not supposed to really have them along with your medication.
Okay,
But
I
if you're
didn't know that.
taking homemade herbs, those are more safe compared to the pill form, because the pills normally would bring a combination of other stuff that we don't even know how to pronounce or
Yeah.
know the origin of those things. So normally, if you do it the natural way at home, it's a lot better than going towards supplement.
Towards the pills.
Towards the
Okay.
pills.
Because
What
the
we're-
pills, they say everything, they're for joints, they're
Yeah.
for stomach,
Yeah.
they're for memory. And I can imagine how much you'd want to buy into that as well.
What we're seeing here is a slide on the screen that says the modification of food textures. Now, can you break this down for us?
This is more for people who have loss of dentures,
Okay.
that can't chew, or maybe people that can't really swallow because of having swallowing difficulties.
Wow.
So then we'd have to try to modify the texture.
Yeah.
Okay, we're seeing here a puree form. Okay, you could basically puree anything. Okay, chicken, eggs, okay, bread, rice, everything you can blend.
Puree
okay, in
egg.
order for the person to be able to eat it. Okay, because sometimes when we have people that lose their dentures, sometimes we just give them mashed potatoes or just bananas because it's soft. But
Yeah.
what they really need is to consume sources of protein, other sources of vegetables. So we can modify the texture, okay, maybe into liquid form in order for them to be able to
Consume their
have it,
proteins.
to
So-
consume their
So this is great for people who have dental issues,
dental
especially.
issues or problem with difficulty swallowing.
Okay, okay. And just stepping back a bit, so when you get older, is it important to, because the number of meals you have and the time of your meals matter, if you're diabetic especially,
Yeah.
but should they be doing smaller portions? Should they be doing the 3 big meals for a day? What's the typical recommendation?
It's normally the same, the
Okay.
3 main meals, okay, and the 2 in between snacks I would recommend for younger adults. However, for them, we do need to focus on the quality of the food and try to get in specific nutrients because of the nutrient deficiencies that they tend to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll try to include more omega-3s, more iron, more folic, more calcium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, which are things that are more important for them later in life than early on.
And calcium is critical because bone density loss is something that does come with age, which makes you more prone to breaking your bones. Talk to us about what your recommendation is, and especially for women, because I know after women go through menopause, they start absorbing less calcium in their bodies. So, I mean, is it a matter of you not being able to being more preventative, like getting the calcium in before menopause rather than after? What's the situation there?
Normally, it should be throughout the life.
Yeah.
Yes, women do experience more risk of bone loss after menopause. However, the recommendation is is still the same.
Okay.
We should still have at least 1 to 2 servings of a source of calcium and vitamin D for the day.
Together.
Okay, together. Okay, both of them need to work together in order to prevent osteoporosis, which is
Yeah.
also common in the elderly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And what's the recommendation for calcium? Because you know people just take their pill.
Yeah. Normally, the recommendation is at least 2 glasses for the day. For example, of milk, or you could get plant-based sources of calcium. Let's say if you're a vegetarian and you don't drink any source of dairy, then you could get it from broccoli, from spinach, okay, from beans, okay,
Yeah.
from plant sources.
So
as well.
green foods have
Green
a good
leafy
amount.
vegetables.
Green leafy vegetables have a good amount of calcium. Like as much as milk, or how comparable?
No, almost the same. You just need to eat larger portions
Oh,
Okay.
throughout the day.
Excellent. Now, this is a
Interesting,
very,
yeah.
very. And
So
talk to us about
2
oh, sure.
servings of calcium, but you have to match it with vitamin
With
D.
vitamin
What are
D.
some vitamin D sources?
Okay.
Yes.
Vitamin D, we know we get it from the sunlight. Okay. The only difference in the elderly is that we know that their skin tends to be a little bit more thin. Okay, so when they're exposed to sunlight, they don't absorb as much vitamin D as we would. Okay, so normally you would try to get vitamin D from fish. Okay, also from the green vegetables, some cheeses, nuts. Okay, also have vitamin D sources.
Excellent.
Okay, so these are one of the 2 nutrients that we find that are very low in the elderly. So we want to make sure we get enough of these 2.
And if you have already been taking the supplements, I mean, should you, what's your recommendation there? Because I think a lot of times we underestimate that people just find supplements to be easy and they don't pay attention to what they're eating.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Normally, the supplements should be recommended by your doctor or nutritionist, because sometimes you might be taking too much calcium than what your body needs. And this goes for any type of supplement. Okay. What our body does not need, we pass through the urine. Okay. So we want to be careful on the type of supplement we choose and ask if it's really necessary to have. Okay. The ideal person to tell you this would be a nutritionist, because they could actually count the amount of calcium you're having for the day and evaluate the diet on all other types of nutrients and see what you would need to have.
That's interesting.
Very.
So you may literally be flushing money down the toilet if you are buying supplements and you eat like broccoli or
having your
and
dairy
having milk, and you just
don't
didn't
need
need
the
that
calories.
supplement in the first place.
You know, you're really using that that broccoli. But you know, one of the things that I'm sure is very important. There are a lot of elderly people who you see them in their backyards. They're working. And some would tell you that, you know what, if that individual should stop doing that, they'll eventually get sick. Talk to us about the importance of being active and working out. Not necessarily working out, but exercising.
Yeah.
Yes. Exercising is important. Normally, the recommendation is at least 3 times a week, a minimum of 30 minutes. Of course, if they would want to involve in more time, it's good. Okay, exercise is very important to restore muscle loss. Okay, because as we get older, we tend to have more muscle loss than when we were younger.
Yeah.
Okay, it's also important for balance. Okay, they tend to lose their balance a little bit if they're not too active.
Yeah.
It's good for flexibility. Okay, for strength. Okay, and of course to improve cardiovascular health and to try to maintain weight and so on.
So what would you consider to be exercise, especially for those? You did mention 30 minutes. So what would it be? Walking, if you could walk. What about for those who are in a wheelchair?
In a wheelchair.
Yes. How do they?
Okay. Normally, the use of light weights. Okay, at least 3-pound weights or even 5-pound weights, if they could use those, are very good.
Yeah.
Okay, weights should be used even for those that can walk or can go for a run or can go to do their normal exercise. They do need to lift some sort of weights. Okay, that is most importantly to restore muscle loss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to get in that 3 days a week, 30 minutes,
30
of,
minutes of
activity. Yeah. So exercise is critical. I know social interaction is also critical,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Also, research shows that people that do exercise find it even better than taking a pill for depression. Okay, so maybe if you feel like you're too depressed, you're isolated, or you spend too much time alone, maybe exercise will give you that energy.
Yeah.
That's a
for
great
the day.
recommendation.
Yeah.
It is.
And what about brain food? There are all these foods that you can eat that's supposed to help your mind. We know the elderly population is more at risk for dementia, and there is an expected amount of memory loss as well, I'm guessing. So talk to us about that. Is there anything that can be included in the diet to kind of prevent these types of issues?
Normally, brain-related foods would include foods that have, for example, antioxidants. Okay, antioxidants are foods that help to remove the excess waste or the free radicals that we get from the digestion of food. Okay, these free radicals can damage the cells in our body and also in the brain.
Yes.
So you get these from a lot of red vegetables and fruits, okay, grapes, berries, okay, lettuce, okay, a lot of greens, vegetables, orange, carrots, okay. Also, nuts are good for the brain, okay, as we can see, the walnuts, it would normally be shaped as
Like
a
a
brain, because that's
brain,
the power food for the brain as well.
Excellent.
And so we have quite a bit here as well. So antioxidants are good for memory, help to
for
prevent
heart
heart disease and cancer, reduce inflammation, and slow down the aging process. What I like about your list, because usually we hear a lot of berries, and the berries aren't, I mean, they're
don't
so
consume it all the
expensive.
time.
Yeah, because they're imported. But these are all stuff that we can get in Belize. But I don't know what black grapes are. But,
Like the grapes as well.
Okay,
it
like-
could be like the regular grapes, but they're different colors, and the black tends to be more potential than the regular one. So
even green tea.
the green tea, the turmeric as well. Okay,
We have
Yeah.
that,
the
we have
turmeric
that.
would be to reduce the inflammation. Okay, especially in those that are suffering from arthritis pain.
Yes.
Okay, so it does help too.
Okay.
And things like apple, peppers. Everybody cooks with onions and peppers in
Yes,
Belize.
yes.
Green tea as well.
Yeah, tomatoes and carrots. These are all really accessible to
Yes.
anyone to put
We have
into
all
their
these
diet.
things here. Lemon. Yeah, very good. Very good.
So that helps with the brain. What other parts of the body can we help with through the nutrition?
The nutrition. Yes, it's very important to mention the fiber intake. Okay, because as we mentioned, the metabolism slows down when we get older, so our digestion as well. Okay, when our digestion slows down, we tend to be more constipated. Okay,
Okay.
and if you're not having enough fiber, then you're increasing the risk of constipation.
Yeah.
Okay, we also find that in the elderly, they tend to have diverticular disease.
Yes.
Okay.
Diverticulosis.
Diverticulosis,
Yeah.
yes. A result from not having enough fiber in the food.
Yeah.
Okay, this can cause inflammation in the intestines and severe pain. Okay, so you do need to try to include fiber every day along with water.
And good sources of fiber?
Okay, whole grains, beans, all fruits and vegetables have fiber as well.
Oats?
Oats.
Yeah, oatmeal, yeah. But that's also good for cholesterol as
For
well.
cholesterol and
So-
also to control the heart
Yeah.
Cool.
and the sugar.
Good, so we can get that in. And
Water.
water.
Yes. The older we get, the less water we drink. Okay, because our ability to conserve water becomes less, so we don't get thirsty. Okay, and then it also affects the brain, meaning that your brain doesn't remind you all the time that you need to drink water. Okay, and we see it at the clinic. I don't remember to drink water. I could only drink 1 glass. Okay,
Yeah.
and this can lead to severe deficiencies later on.
Yeah.
Okay, not drinking enough water could lead you to forgetting things. Okay,
Yeah.
to cause confusion. It could also lead to dehydration.
Yes.
Okay, dehydration in the body cells, and also problems with your kidneys if you're not drinking enough water to eliminate the excess toxins.
And the elderly are usually more at risk for heat-related diseases too, especially if they're not drinking enough
not
water.
drinking enough
Yeah,
water.
because they don't process heat the same way.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. So that you'd actually no longer have the sense of thirst.
Of thirst.
That we'd have now, like we would have when you get older. So you have to just settle.
have
Is
to
it the
set-
same 8 glasses that you want to
Yes,
get in?
the minimum 8 glasses. Okay, for most people, they'd have to have their jug of water right next to them. Okay, whether they're sitting on the couch or near the bed, just as to remember to drink water. Okay, or maybe you can remind your relative, okay, it's time for a glass of water, or maybe try to motivate them to have 2 glasses with every meal.
Yeah.
But it is something that we see that they don't always consume.
Wow.
All right. And what about, because John said it earlier, I think after a certain age, the elderly just kind of believe that, you know, I've been doing this my whole life, I'm fine. So don't tell me to switch to wheat, or don't tell me to eat, I can't eat rice. Talk to me about how you work, because you know, Mercy Clinic is the only, as far as I know, only elderly clinic. It's the only geriatric care that's available for only older people. So how do you convince them to make dietary changes when just naturally they feel that they've survived on it so long, it's still fine?
Yes, it's very difficult at the beginning. You have to teach them about the portions, about the benefits of each food group, and then try to have them change their meals slowly. Okay, so maybe if for breakfast they're already used to having this certain portion or this certain type of food, then try to modify it every other day. Okay, you find it that it does work. Okay, they do try to modify their meals, or they try to combine it with other things that are more healthy for them in order for them to be able to make these changes.
Excellent. Wow.
And just based on practice, what are some of the common things you find that you have to be correcting in terms of the way elderly people would eat?
Okay. It mostly has to do with their timing of eating, okay? Because we see that sometimes they're used to not eating in the evening or not having any fruits for the day. I see also that their protein intake is very low, okay? Sometimes the older we get, we don't want to eat any chicken, it already tastes the same, okay? Or we're not getting protein from other plant sources as well. So normally we do see a big number of patients with protein deficiency, okay? Where they would eat mostly rice, which is okay, but then we're having larger portions of rice instead of including or combining it with protein as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
This is a really ideal situation here.
I know. And you know what the thing is, we all have our loved ones at home. Our parents age, and you wanna take care of them, and it's just learning how you have to differentiate what their needs are versus ours. How important is it that, you know, the rest of the family is on board? So if you have an elderly father and you're trying to get them to eat healthier, but the rest of us are having fried chicken, like, you know, how important is it that you have that?
Yes, it's very important that when they make the changes, that they do it as a family. Because you can't have someone eat something different than what you are having, okay? Especially if it's someone that's already used to consuming the same meals for the entire life. So you do need to make the changes as a family, okay? For some of them, it's difficult for them to prepare their own meals. So in this case, they would have a benefit towards their health because they would need to eat the meals that you prepare. Okay, so it does need to be done as a whole in order to encourage them to consume the meals.
I think being wholesome is...
I have another good one. So I've heard this one from personal experience. So, you know, parents don't necessarily like to be parented by their children.
That's true.
And I think it also has a psychological effect as well. So when they feel constrained with a child telling them, or their child, I should say, telling them, you know, you can only have one, or this is all you can have, or you can no longer eat X, Y, and Z. They really rebel against it, and it becomes more difficult to keep them on their diet for health reasons. What's your advice when I'm sure you have children who accompany their parents and are like, see, I tell you, mommy, don't eat that. How do you work with them to help so that you can implement the changes that are necessary for good health?
Okay, in these cases, if the person is not accepting the meal, then maybe something is wrong. You could try to modify the taste, okay? You could try to prepare it differently, or try to do it another form. Or maybe the person is not accepting it because he knows that you'll be hungry in the next 30 minutes or 1 hour. So maybe you're not giving them enough. Okay, so it's just a matter of knowing exactly how you are with them. Okay, the best thing to do is for a nutritionist to analyze their diet and see, okay, he can have extra, don't restrict him to just one loaf or just to one glass. Okay, so you do need to see why the person is not accepting the meal. Okay, maybe he can't swallow it, maybe he can't chew it. Okay, so we
Maybe
have
they
to
don't like
find the
how it
reason,
tastes.
or maybe
Yeah.
how it tastes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last one, what about supplements like the Ensure, the drinks that people
Yeah.
have?
Those are safe to have. However, you want to make sure that you're only drinking it because you can't meet your daily nutritional requirements. Okay, as we said, normally it should be 75%, but if you're not meeting your requirements, then you may need to drink an Ensure or a Glucerna or any
Okay.
other type of supplement.
Okay.
However, your doctor needs to tell you if you can have it. Okay,
Yeah.
because sometimes you would drink Ensure throughout the day or more than we should, and these things have calories.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yes, they
So,
do have calories.
I mean, they also are very high in calories because it's almost like a meal replacement. So you don't want to be having. I mean, is it okay to have Ensure and still be doing your 3 meals a
Your
day
3
and
meals.
snacks?
No.
No.
Normally, it is a meal replacement.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have time for breakfast, then you do the Ensure.
Ensure.
Or if you don't feel hungry in the night or you don't have time to prepare it, then you have the Ensure again. Okay,
People look
but
at
you
it-
don't have it with the meal and the drink.
People look at Ensure as something just for the elderly, is it?
No. It can be given to the younger population. However, if you meet your daily requirements, you don't have to drink it. Okay. Normally, it's for people that can't chew, that can't swallow properly, or people that are feeding from a feeding tube that we would normally give the
that
Ensure.
Okay.
Now we know.
All right. And just 2 more things. You said 2 more items that you want to include in your diet: iron and vitamin B12.
What are those? Yeah.
Yeah,
How do we
iron-
get those?
Yeah, how do we get
Yeah,
those?
normally we could get those from green vegetables as well. B12, you can only get it from red meat, from fish, or from chicken. Okay, so if you're a vegetarian or following a plant-based diet, you do need to take a B12 supplement. Okay, but if you're not getting enough intake of any of these foods, okay, or if your blood levels are too low, then your doctor would tell you if you do need to take extra iron or extra B12. Okay, normally in the elderly, these are one of the 2 that are most given to patients. Okay, the other ones are covered with their meals, but iron and B12 tend to be a lot low.
All
in the
right.
I
population.
can imagine how your patients at Mercer Clinic just love you. Yeah. But, you know, thank you for coming in.
Thank you
I
so very
think,
much,
I
yes.
think we do neglect sometimes to talk about the elderly population
Yeah.
and recognizing the needs. And, you know, there are a lot of families who want the best for their aging loved one. And so now we know how to help them eat better.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we always go on the on that path of remembering them afterwards. So this is a great opportunity to keep them around for a longer time. Help them out, and let's make sure that they're provided with. Doris, once again, thank you so very
Okay.
much. It was an excellent time with you.
Thank you too.
Thank you too. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we are going to be featuring Commonwealth Rhodes Scholar Abby Godoy. So please stay tuned.
"65 years ago, Don Omario started with 1 bar and a vision to capture the taste of Belize and share it with the world.
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're now moving into our second segment for the morning. And like we mentioned, this week what we're doing is that we're doing a segment called Everyday People Feature. So that's our feature for today. 2020 Commonwealth Caribbean Rhodes Scholar is in with us, none other than Abby Godoy, who is the 2020 Rhodes Scholar and a youth advocate as well. Abby, good morning and welcome.
Guys. Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, she's
We
so
are
lovely.
so happy to have you
We are,
here,
we are.
and even more so to have this conversation. First
Yes.
off, congratulations.
Big congrats to you. We
Yeah.
want to know about you. We want to know, how did this come along?
Oh, wow. Well, it's actually really coincidental. I got really sick over summer, so I couldn't go to school for the first week. And so I was like, well, this is August. This is prime season to be looking for scholarships. So for anyone interested, August to November is a great time to start looking. Most of them are still open. There's a lot of options. You can prepare for those that open in December.
Yeah.
And so I just Googled, what are the best scholarships? Out of jokes, I was like, what is the best scholarship to get as a postgraduate student? No, sorry, graduate student.
Yeah.
And so the Rhodes popped up, and I was just like, wow, this is nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, should I, shouldn't I? So I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm sick anyway. I have time.
Yeah.
And so I just started the application process, and then I kind of forgot about it when I got a little bit better because I was back in school. And then I got like an email like, hey, you remember that you're still working on this
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
So I was just like,
Application
"Ooh,
incomplete."
Okay, so I was like, okay, let me continue.
Yeah.
And then the more I got into it, the more I was like, okay, I really want this. So the more effort I started to put in. Lucky for me, I had like a month. So I got my references from school. I wasn't really telling anybody that I was applying because I was like, okay, the more people know that I apply, and if I don't get it, the more people will know that I didn't get in. So I didn't really tell anyone, and then I just kind of walked up to 4 of my professors, and I was like, hey, I need these 2 recommendations. Would you guys mind? And they were like, oh yeah, sure, for what? And I was like, I'm applying for the Rhodes. And they're like, for what? I'm like, I'm applying for the Rhodes. And they're like, you're applying for the Rhodes? And I was just like, yes, I'm applying for the Rhodes. And they're like, are you sure? I mean, it's hard, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, okay, well, sure, we'll work on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's where it went off. And I actually have this one really funny story with one of my recommendations that he waited till the very last day because they even had an extended deadline than I did to submit the application. And so it sends you an email, and I'm up till like midnight, and I'm like, oh God, I didn't see this email. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't get that recommendation. So the next morning I storm into my professor's office, and I'm like, hey, you're playing with my future. You didn't submit my thing. And he's like, no, I did. I did like 11:55. I did though. I was just like, okay.
So I'm gonna do that with my paper.
And so then a few weeks later, I was actually here in the city visiting my sister, and we were about to go out to eat, and I opened my email, and I'm like, oh, there's a thing that says Read Commonwealth. And I was just like, okay, do I open it? Do I not open it? So I was like, okay, I can't do this. Someone please open it for me. And it was an invitation to go to Barbados for an interview.
Yeah.
And I was just like, ooh, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
I just got invited. And so the next few weeks, it was like, my family was like, okay, every day, why do you think you deserve the scholarship? Asking me all these questions like, remember what you wrote in your essay? Okay, they're gonna ask you about this, so talk about that. And so the whole time I was just preparing, and then like, my mom's like, okay, what are you gonna wear? Because there's like a dinner party, but the instructions are very vague. So it's just like, it's kind of business formal, and so you're like, okay, so what do I wear? Because you don't wanna look too dressed up, but not underdressed.
To make the right impression, yeah.
And so it was all of this, and then figuring out what I'm gonna wear for the actual interview. Like, oh, because you go reading these business articles, and they're like, oh, you wear pants because they make you feel empowered, and the people will know that you mean business. But you wear a dress if you want to seem more nice, or do you wear a bright lipstick, or don't you wear a bright lipstick? I don't know. So it was a whole lot of trouble before going, and then it was even more trouble because I had like a 16-hour layover in Miami. And so it was like, okay, it takes me 2 days to get there. I'll be there for 4, and then it'll take me 2 days to get back home. And so luckily my family was like, it doesn't matter. We'll like do whatever it takes to get you there because you need to at least stand the chance.
Did you have to cover your costs to Barbados? Or that was included?
Initially I did. And then once I got there, you got reimbursed.
Okay.
Right, so you need to make sure that you actually got there first.
Yeah.
And then they did give me a stipend per day that I was there.
Okay.
And so that was really nice. And so when I got there, when I landed, it was like this whole experience because you're absolutely alone. There's no welcome committee, there's no one. They just tell you in the email, get yourself to this hotel, and that's it. And so now I'm walking in and I see what I possibly thought could have been another person from the Rhodes, because there was the only young person in the hotel. And so I was like, because there's like an age limit, so you can't be over 25. And so I was like, okay, you look like you might be
A roadie.
a roadie. But I was like also very scared, because I was like, I'm not sure if they're gonna be nice or not. And so you're also competing for the same thing, so you're like, I don't know if they're gonna be friendly. But lucky for me, the next day I was up at like 6 in the morning Bajan time, because over here it's like 8.
Yeah.
And so I went to the beach and I got breakfast, and then I was coming back, and this very sweet lady who was in charge of taking care of my room, she's like, okay, what country are you from? And I'm like, how do you know I'm not from here? And she's like, because this whole little floor is reserved for you guys. And I'm like, oh, so the person I heard next door, the person I saw walk by me this morning, and she's like, yeah, those are all Rhodes Scholars. I was like, what? And then she's like,
Were
yes.
you intimidating?
Yes.
I mean, were you like sizing them? This is competition now, right?
Okay, I didn't really size them up until she gave me the speech, and she's like, you know, I spoke to the young man that won last year. What do you want to do? And I was just like, oh, you know, I want to study development studies. I gave her my whole rundown, and then she's like, well, you know what? They're all having breakfast downstairs together, and you better get down there. And I was just like, really? And she's like, yes, and you better make sure you make friends. And I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, mommy.
Did that demean her as well? Oh
Yeah,
my
she
God.
was very aggressive. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And so I went downstairs, and I clearly remember sitting down, and everyone, they ask you where you're from, what university, and what you're studying. And I'm like, oh, I'm from the University of Belize, and I'm studying English. And the person next to me is like, oh, I'm in Harvard, and I'm studying biomedicine. And I'm just like, what?
Oh my God.
I was like, what?
Yes.
And then-
I know,
right?
now.
Yeah.
I know you want
Yeah. And so the person next door is like, oh, I'm working at the American Development Bank, and I studied economics at
Yeah.
Hampton University. And I'm just like, Hampton? And she's like, yeah. And then this other person is like, oh, well, you know, I'm doing physics at UE. And I'm just like, okay.
You two
I feel better.
Yeah.
We're not competing with all these Ivy Leagues. But yeah, I remember texting my sister and just being like, wow, this guy's from Harvard. Gosh, I feel so intimidated. And so I wanted to cry, and she's like, no, the fact that you got invited was just, you know, like a big thing. It means that you stand a chance. And so my family was really trying to make me feel better.
Yeah.
But when I got home and I had actually won, they were like, okay, we're not gonna lie, we were a little scared for you.
We thought you got a great trip to Barbados.
Right, so it was very interesting.
So that's such a key backdrop that you provided there. First of all, I think not everybody is aware of the prestige of the Rhodes Scholar. And even if you look at the list of people who've received it, I mean, you're talking presidents, you're talking like, it's real high profile people who have been able to attain the scholarship. So now you know that because you did your research. You get there and you realize I'm competing with people who have, you know, very intense majors, and also working with international organizations, attended or attending Ivy Leagues, and you have to go in for this interview. What are you telling yourself?
Well, the interview process is very interesting in and of itself.
Okay.
So basically, you go on a lock-in at the Governor General's house from 8:30 in the morning until it's over. So the whole day you're just kind of sweating and waiting for your turn. So lucky for me, I got to go in 4th place. So I wasn't at the top, but I wasn't really at the bottom either. So going in, I just told myself, you're just gonna give it your best. You have no idea what they're gonna ask you. Just answer as honest as you can be, because they know everything about you already.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And the questions themselves weren't as loaded as I thought they would be, because the dinner party was intense.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, they asked me some hard questions. They're like, oh, why do you think Belize should be a part of the Caribbean community?
What?
And yeah, I was just like, are you really asking me that? Or one of the hardest questions that I got in the interview was just, how do I feel being associated with Cecil Rhodes' legacy? He was, you know, a really bad guy. He stole everybody's diamonds. He was mass killings. He was a terrible guy. How would I feel going to school on this man's name and money? And so you're just there like, this is the guy who's paying for my scholarship. Are you really asking me why I want to be associated with him?
Yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
so it was like really ticklish questions.
And so your answer was?
Oh, my answer was that coming from Belize, a British colony, I never really got any direct benefit from that.
Yeah.
Not in my view. And so the Rhodes Scholarship would be a reparation for me for everything that's happened here.
Yeah.
And I just saw it as an opportunity to use this very bad man's money to make something good.
Yeah.
He never expected people like me to go to his school or to his country or on his money, much less. So I was like, he's kind of paying back for what he's already done to us.
Yeah.
Nice answer.
Yeah, scholarship. I checked the box. I checked the box.
Yeah.
But
So the dinner was really kind of the interview.
Intimidating
That's
part.
what was it. And you know, what I'm interested in is even looking at the scholarship essay, because that's kind of your first sales pitch. And I know a lot of people struggle. They've done application essays, and it's always like, why do you want the scholarship? Why do you want to study what you study?
Yeah.
What angle did you? I mean, what were you selling or as your pitch?
Actually, I really vividly remember my first sentence was like, you guys asked me who I am, and I don't really know that yet, but I'm gonna try to be as Abby as possible in this paper. And so I don't know if it was the informality of my answer or just me telling them about myself, but I really tried to get in a lot in this short amount of pages. So I went with some family history, my background, what I'm interested in, why I chose development studies, and kind of at the end, like, I really promised to come back home and make things different. I'm already doing it. Trust me, I'm gonna make good use of the scholarship, wink, wink.
Yes. But you know what? I think one of the things that that definitely was a buy-in was the fact that you were being honest and you were being yourself. And I think this is one of the things that people actually look for. Even in the workforce, we want to make sure that you are you. So in terms of this scholarship, how many people were actually able to receive it? I think that's one of the most intimidating things about it, because you're not sure.
To receive the scholarship?
Yeah.
Well, for the entire Commonwealth Caribbean, it's only one. What? So you compete with the whole region. So I was against
All these
Trinidad and
Harvard people, are
Barbados.
these Hampton people?
Yeah, so there was like Trinidad and Tobago was there. There was a guy from Barbados. There were people from St. Vincent. There was a girl from Dominican Republic. So there was like a lot. Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah.
So you go in knowing that only one of you will win. I'm not exactly sure what the number is of people who apply, but people who get invited to the interview process was 11. And then there's one scholarship especially for Jamaica.
Yeah.
So Jamaica is the only country that doesn't have to compete against everyone else. However, every so often, if there's really a really great candidate who comes in second, they would put them in the mix for the Caribbean Commonwealth Caribbean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very.
So tell us about when you found out you had actually won the scholarship.
Okay.
That's your stories.
That's the part that I'm ready for the goosebumps.
Okay, so we don't actually have like a real meal while we're at the house.
Yeah.
We get like a snack and some water and some juice, but we don't get to eat. So you're there and you're getting hungrier and hungrier. And then at 4-ish, the last person went in, and we were all like, oh, thank God we're not him. Because, wow.
Yeah.
Whew. And then, so then what they do is they send everyone back out, and they start to deliberate. And so for about half an hour, they sent in the room locked up, and then they're like, okay, well, this is how it's going to go. We're going to call you in. We're going to announce it here. You guys get a minute, and then we'll come back out and do it all over again for the press. So we get called into the room, and we just line up in front of them. And the secretary of the Commonwealth Caribbean Rhodes Scholarship is like, okay, Madam Sandra has some things she'd like to tell you guys. And so the GG talks, and then she gives us a little speech about the importance of what we're doing here today, the ceremony, all of that. And then Mr. Goldgen just goes, okay, well, let me tell you who the winner of the Commonwealth Caribbean Rhodes 2020 is. And he just says, Abby Godoy. And then I had been preparing myself all afternoon, like, no, don't get your hopes up. It's okay. Like, you just make sure you don't cry. That's it.
Yeah.
But when he said it, I think everybody was in shock.
Why?
Because I had been very quiet the whole time. I had been superly quiet, just because I had been so nervous.
Yeah.
And so everyone was just like, what? And they're like, but she's, what? And then the first thing that was just like, that I said was, what? And the GG, she just laughed, and she was just like, started on this whole spiel about how much responsibility I have now, and how she expects so much of me. She says she doesn't just want me to come home and change Belize, she wants me to change the Caribbean. She's like, I better hear your name somewhere or I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. And then I just got to exhale, because everyone had already walked out of the room.
Yeah.
And when I walked out, all the cameras are there, all the press is there. Within the few minutes we were in there, they had come up and then they were just like, okay. He did it again in front of the press. And the second time I was like, okay, yeah, he really said my name. Whew. Thank God I'm not dreaming.
Wow.
So I was in shock, and I actually knew for about 3 hours before I told anyone home.
Why?
I guess I just didn't know
how to tell them,
and I was a little scared. And so when I finally did tell them, I was so nervous that I forgot to even mention the roads. I was just like, Abby Godoy's winner? And then they were like, wait, what did you win? What happened? Tell us. And I was like, okay, I won the roads. And then like my whole family was just in tears. And then hearing them in tears really made me get in really teary-eyed. It was really emotional, just being like, wow, I won. But I also felt a little guilty because I was like, these are the most amazing people, because you do make friends.
Yeah, you do.
They're the only people who understand what that experience was like. And so I was like, I feel just a little bit bad that you guys couldn't win too. But everybody was just like, no, it's fine. Like, you deserved it. Just do what you got to do. And so it was really nice. They were really sweet.
Quite an experience.
Abby,
and I think you've only, I mean, I can't imagine the nerves you felt. I can't imagine the amount of preparation. What I hear very clearly from what you're saying is how important family support was to you.
Yes.
Now, what I wanted to touch on is stepping back, because a lot of people will watch you and have a lot of assumptions as to, you know, how you're able to achieve this particular accomplishment. And, you know, talk to us about who Abby is. You're from San Ignacio. You have been very involved in terms of advocacy work in multiple agencies. You know, sometimes people think that comes with privilege, like, oh, you don't have anything else to do, you know? So talk to us about that part and breaking through the stereotypes.
Well, first of all, when I was around 3, my dad left the country. So I kind of only grew up with my mom and my other 2 siblings who are older than I am. And when I was younger, I had my grandma. So we lived with my grandma. But lucky for me, I had a lot of strong women in my life. My mom went on a scholarship to Sacred Heart. She then went on a scholarship to Teachers College. And then she paid for herself to go to UB to get her bachelor's. So I always knew that education was important, and she always really pushed for that. But having a mom as a teacher doesn't mean your mom's gonna be your teacher or always have the time to teach you. So a lot of what I was learning was kind of on my own. My siblings helped a lot, I won't lie. I think my brother combed my hair a few times before class. He was like, okay, we gotta get ready. Here, let me just gel down the edges. But what really got me into volunteering was my older sister. So she and my mom are very, very, very into the Belize Red Cross. They really love it. They love the organization. They love what it stands for. And so she was in high school, and I wasn't. I was like 11. And so a summer, she decided, okay, well, I'm gonna volunteer all my time, because what else am I gonna do at home? It's not that, you know, you have privilege, you just don't have anything to do as a middle-income family. Your mom's still kind of working up until June, you're already out by then. And so she kind of let me tag along with her. And I guess I didn't really understand what it meant to volunteer at that point. I just knew that I liked to go with her. You know, she would get me candy and I'd be like, okay, cool. All I gotta do is hold these Ziplocs with your pens. Nice. But when I started high school, because I was already connected to the Red Cross, they were like, okay, well, you gotta join. And so I did, and that's when I really started to develop a love for volunteering. When I left high school, and that's something I should mention, my mom really cared about the education we were getting. But I really struggled in high school. I had been a straight A valedictorian in primary school, but in high school, I really started to struggle because I only had the option between science and business, and I'm not good with numbers, never been good with numbers. But I guess I only had science. And so I did biochemistry, and I was terrible at it.
It's a lot of numbers?
Not even numbers, just like formulas, science. So I did science and barely passed through third form. And so my family was just like, ooh. But they were very nice and they just asked me, did you do your best? And I was like, I really tried. And they were like, okay, well, you didn't fail, so it's okay. Just, you know, we gotta get you a tutor and see what we can do to fix it. I didn't feel bad because my sister too really didn't like science either. My brother, he did general. Lucky for him, he got that option. I didn't have that one in my year.
Okay.
And so then I went ahead and I passed fourth form and I did 8 CXCs. I failed 2, which of course were chemistry and math. And so now I went and I took a gap year, like a year and a half, because I was 15 when I finished high school. I was very young. And so I wanted to come to St. John's, and my mom was just like, oh, my 15-year-old is not moving to Belize City. Heck no. And so I worked for a bit, and that really was an interesting experience because I was in customer service.
Worked at 15?
Yeah. And so, because I didn't have anything else to do, and I guess I was like, oh, I don't have my own money. What can I do? Let me go work. So I worked at a boutique, which really proved to be an interesting experience. I don't know if you ever worked at customer service. At 15, everyone else scares you, so you can imagine how that played out. But then I got to travel for a bit, and then I came back home, and I was like, okay, Mom, I'm ready to start school. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
I've done what I need to do. I want to go to school. And so she's like, okay, so where do you want to go? And I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm going to go to UB because it's just better.
Yeah.
Closer, I can commute. Okay, so she's like, okay, let's go to UB. Now, coming to UB was like, what are you going to study? You obviously don't like business. You obviously don't like science. What else could you do? And so I was like, well, I've always liked reading, and I've always liked writing.
Yeah.
So how about English? In my gap year, I started to work for NCFC as an informed teen reporter, which is at Channel 5.
Yes.
And so I really enjoyed writing from that point. And I actually thought I was going to grow up to be a journalist.
That's what you wanted to do when I first met you. I'm going to be a journalist.
This is the connection here.
Yeah.
The first time I met her, she says, I'm coming for your job.
Yeah. But I quickly learned, okay, maybe journalism is not what I want to do. But that was really great experience. And it kind of helped me pick a major. And so I started off with English, and I passed my associates with a 3.3, which isn't great.
Yeah.
Because now, when I was applying for the roads, I was like, holy, I'm going to have to show them how I did in high school.
So you
how I did
won
my
the
associates.
scholarship with a 3.3?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I did have to show a transcript of my grades. So that 3.3 is there, and that 3.0 in high school is there, which is kind of telling you, hey, she wasn't really doing much.
Yeah.
But luckily, in my bachelor's, I'm currently at a 3.7, and I've managed to stay there for the last 3 semesters.
Okay.
So this current semester, I'm trying to push and break to get the 3.8 because I really want it.
Yeah.
But I think it just kind of showed them that I finally knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And once I had that interest, I had the motivation to do it. And so I got in. You can't even apply if you don't have a 3.7 for the scholarship. So that's already a cutoff for a lot of people. So yeah, but throughout my whole time, I've worked with some interesting organizations. I've worked with BDART, which is the Belize Disaster Response and Rescue Team. And so that was interesting, having to lug around bodies, learning about how to search for people when they're missing. It's really interesting.
But where does it come from, though? I mean, you're well-spoken, and I knew that from the first time I had a meeting with the teen reporters. You are very articulate. You're very clear in terms of what you want to communicate. Where do you think these things come from, and what makes you, because even in your work in youth advocacy, when you get up and speak, it's very assertive, and many see it as very fearless. Where would you say that comes from?
I think it comes from a place of helplessness. And I would say that just because when you're 16, 14, there's not much you can do. Here in Belize, at least when I was growing up, I didn't have all the opportunities to advocate as much as I see that young kids are doing today. And so I felt helpless. I can't give anybody money. I can't fix anybody's life, but I can give you my time. And I can try my best to make something happen, to influence something. So I think that's where it comes from, just me needing to help people and not always having the resources that they might need or that I can provide, but just having time. And that's something very important for anyone. If you have 5 minutes to just talk to someone about what their day was like, why not do it? Or if someone tells you, hey, you know, this system is really bad for this and this reason, and you already have a connection to an organization who can help fix that, why not do it? I've been very lucky that I've been placed in the middle of all these organizations that work with youth and children and families, but not everybody has that. It was just my own motivation to get out of my house and to look for an opportunity.
But I have one thing here. One of the things that stand out for me is the fact that you actually had some time off, and parents. I've got my child going to UB, but parents are actually afraid of giving their child time off. You know what you want to, as soon as you're finished with high school, you need to get into sixth form. What do you say about that little time off that you got? And how important was that for you? Did it give you or did it take away from
Look
you?
at that smile.
At first, it seemed like not a great idea. It didn't seem like a good idea. But after having taken the time off, after having time to actually know what I wanted, because a lot of times I've noticed a lot of my friends who go straight into university, they probably fail the first semester or they change majors, and that's not the best thing because you're wasting the resources. So I guess getting the time off, you have time to really look for what you want because you don't always have it available to you at high school.
So you gain from it.
And learning that jobs are full-time commitments and you got to wake up every morning and going, and school has its benefits. Did that help?
It did help a lot. I was like, okay, mommy, I know what I want. I'm ready to go to school.
So, my final question is, how old are you?
I'm 21. I turned 21 in December.
Okay, so people will listen to this and say, well, man, this girl just doesn't have any time for herself. She's, volunteering, doing school, searching for scholarships, and, how do you balance it?
I actually find volunteering fun. So for me, that's kind of what I do for fun. But let's say that my friends want to hang out and they don't necessarily want to be in the things that I'm doing. I'll just be like, but there's this really cool thing we could do. Like, you could go wrap gifts, especially during Christmas time for the organizations who give away gifts. Or, we could just, sit around, read a book. My sister actually owns a bookstore, so a lot of books, and I love to read. So that's what I do for fun. I read a lot.
Excellent.
And looking forward, you're going to go. So the scholarship is to Oxford University. And you said that you have closely narrowed down what you want to study.
Yes, I've actually applied for 2 programs. The first being a master's in social anthropology, and the second being a master's in evidence-based social intervention and policy evaluation.
What's the interest of these things?
Well, social anthropology really is just to understand how we make decisions, how societies make decisions, especially for the developing world. I'd want to come back.
Yes.
And so there's a whole field dedicated to studying Latin America. So I would want to look into that. But social evidence-based social intervention and policy evaluation is really my first choice because I do want to come home and I want to hands-on fix the things that I see happening. I want to evaluate how good these social interventions work, what are the policies that dominate this intervention, and how to fix the evaluation part of the
It's so great. It's such a positive energy, and we really needed it. And so I'm glad that we've had you. When you look out, you're able to vote. This is an election year. When you look at the country today, what's the one thing that perhaps drives you the most? The one thing that you look at and say, I'm tired of this in my country, or we need to find a solution, or that really frustrates you.
I guess there's a lot of issues, and you can spend hours debating about any one of them. But I try to focus on what I'm passionate about, which is women and children. And for me specifically, children are the forgotten citizens. They don't get to vote. They don't get to participate as much as an adult does. So for me, just being able to provide some kind of area where they get to advocate for themselves would be, I think, a really great success. I mean, we as adults, we think we know everything. And one of our responsibilities as adults is to make the best decisions for them. But that doesn't mean we don't have to give them a space to say what they want or what they think is best for them.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right out of her camp. But Abby, this was definitely a breath of fresh air for us, and it's so nice to meet you.
And you want other kids to apply to be Rhodes Scholars.
Oh yeah, I've already told a lot of people, like, hey, you better be looking out for this.
Yeah.
All right. Just before we go, the last person from Belize to receive this scholarship was how long ago?
I think it was 10 years. I think he won 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Big,
and
big
thank you for
congrats.
coming in and just telling us your story and just, I think, inspiring a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
You took a lot of initiative in looking for the scholarship and pursuing it, and clearly it's paid off, and we can tell why.
Thank
All
you
right, so
much.
best of luck. You leave
luck.
for the UK this summer?
September.
In September.
All right.
All right. Great. And we'll be watching, and we'll be waiting to hear your name as
We
well.
will.
Yeah. All right, we'll
Okay.
take that break, and when we come back, it's the shift gears. We're going to be focusing on our defense forces and their participation in Baker to Vegas 2020. So stay tuned.
With over 100 years of service
All right, and welcome back to Open Your Eyes on this lovely Wednesday morning. Venturing off now into our final segment for the morning. Baker to Vegas 2020, April 4th and 5th in Las Vegas. Now we've got the crew in with us to talk about it. Senior Superintendent Lyndon Flowers, who was a captain and team leader. We also have the coach, and the coach is Winder
Ellington.
All right, Winder Ellington, he's the coach. We've got Egbert and we've got Albert, and they're both runners. They're in this corner as well. Guys, good morning and welcome. It's nice to have you in.
Good morning.
Good
morning. Good morning.
Well, this
Nice
morning,
to be here again.
this morning is to run your mouth off.
Not the legs, but
So
the
what?
mouth.
So let's get into it. What is this? What is this thing about? What are we talking about here?
This is the law enforcement challenge of the world, the greatest law enforcement challenge of the world. And this year we're competing with the United States and 3 other countries besides Belize. And we are going in there as number 1. March of 2019, we took on 289 teams and we came in first. Belize, we got first place. We beat LAPD by 51 seconds after the run.
So this is the third year,
this
right?
is going to be the fifth year.
The fifth year, sorry, okay.
For Belize.
Because we were invited the first time and pretty much shocked everybody the first time around. We didn't get first, but we played so well that people were saying, whoa, where did people come from? Yeah?
And we are back and we've been climbing ever since. The first year we came in out of 289 teams, we came in sixth, which was a mixed category that was 15 male and 5 females. And our females did great for us that year. The other year we went back and we took all male team. It's an open and we call it in the masters category. We came in third that year. Second year was
second.
The third year.
Second, and the third year, or the fourth year we came in first.
So you have climbed. You started pretty high out at 289, and you climbed right up to the very top.
This challenge started in Las Vegas and in Los Angeles Sheriff and Police Department back in 1985, and they invited teams from around the world. Australia, Canada, and Belize came. Germany, and the year we came in third, we had Australia, Germany, Canada, and we did everything that we could, and we came in second. And last year, again, I said we came in first. This year, we are looking again to defend and make it even a better win. I've asked my guys to take off a minute off or
shave off a minute off a mile.
You just want to win. You want to have a comfortable win.
Win big. Unfortunately, the trophy about 17 and a half pounds, we were not able to have it here this day because we brought it in March. And we showed it off a bit, but we had to send it back. It's a perpetual trophy, so you get to send it back. So when we get there in April, our name will be on that trophy, and we want to make it the second year that we put Belize on that trophy.
Back to back.
Several interesting criteria. One, it's a law enforcement run, which means everyone who is running is going to has to be involved in a law enforcement agency in the country, right? So we have police. We have what?
We have police and we have the Coast Guard and our guys from the Defense Force in the special units. So they're all law enforcement officers coming.
Where are you guys working?
Yeah, introduce yourselves, where you work at.
Exactly.
Well, Albert Davis, Belize Coast Guard.
Okay.
Yeah, from Belize Coast Guard.
Okay.
Egbert Agustin, I'm from BDF.
Okay, from the BDF.
And they're quiet like this now, but when race day, nobody talk more than they run more than then so they are doing that. And you're looking at Albert, who has done the longest stage out of this 120 is at 10.7 miles, and Albert has done that 2 years.
2 years back to back,
and has come very close to getting the best time. And I'm going to tell you, out of the 20 stages, Belize have now 4 records. A runner from Belize have won the best time in that year for his stage. Best time. And this year I'm looking for more runners. I think the third year we had 7 first place run in the stages.
Wow. Because it's a non-stop relay. You run from California to Las Vegas through the day, through the night, and you all take different legs.
Last year our run was 12 hours, 49 minutes and 44 seconds. That is what put us 51
How many miles? How many miles is that?
120 miles.
120 miles from California to Vegas.
Yes.
We start in Baker, California, in the desert.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that. So
Baker, California.
There's the length of the run, the stamina you have to have, but let's not forget the most important thing here. The weather there.
Yes.
If anybody's been in that area, it is crazy. That's not the type of weather. The heat, if it's hot, it's
Cold.
not our type of heat.
The cold.
The cold is
Not our thing.
freezing.
Yeah.
How do you guys get ready for that? And tell me about your first experience when you
tell us
realized,
about it.
okay, yeah, I could do the run, but this weather is.
Yeah, well, the first time I went, I did earlier in the day. So I ran in the heat. And the heat was super hot out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I overcome it, you know,
Yeah.
due to the fact that we were mostly trained in the heat here in Belize. So that was great for me.
But a different kind of hot.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So when I went the second year, I went back to the same stage.
Yeah.
And I got record holder for that stage.
Nice.
Sweet. Yeah. So when I went back again, they gave me a longer leg, which is the third longest, which is 7.5. I had to run that in the night. And it was super cold.
Yeah.
Yep. And went back again last year and ran the same leg again and came in first in my stage in my category, but then due to the fact, you know,
Yeah, you didn't get
Extra crew,
I
I never
didn't
get that
get
record.
in that
But you were
case.
first.
So what's your preference, hot or cold?
Cold.
Yeah?
Cold.
What do you
Even
prefer
though you
running?
run in hot weather?
You prefer running a hot
I
weather or cold?
prefer running in the heat than the cold.
Okay.
But then the cold, you know, it's not that
It's not that bad.
that bad. Due to
Once you
the
get-
elevation.
Depends on what time of the
the,
night.
the
Yeah.
elevation that you're climbing. whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us about your experience.
2 years back to back now, I don't like the experience, but when I go out there, I have to work hard because I run the longest like 10.70 miles 2 years now, and I run that like 12:1 so the night. So it is really, really, really cold. So for me kind of good, I really have to pressure my body. I really have to go beyond.
Yeah.
So how I prepare myself when I train here, I train as hard as possible to get my body on a different standard. So when I go there, I can make the 10.70 miles in at least a valuable time.
Yeah.
You understand? So the aim for that 10 miles is to keep either beat the team that is coming against us, either beat them or at least stay close as
Close to
possible
them.
to them. Yes, that's the aim for that leg.
Yeah.
So that is like a suicidal leg.
Yeah.
Because it's
Sir,
interior hills.
Anaya.
Hills.
And
You
it's
go up
not
hills.
just cold, it's windy too.
Yes, cold and windy. Yes.
All right, so here we go with the coach.
Yes, sir.
What it is like to prepare these guys for this thing? I mean, I didn't know you as a runner. Now I know.
Now you
So
know.
how do you prepare for this?
Personally, man in Belize again. These are guys that I am familiar with from the initial stage.
Yeah.
We all work at the same service. We serve the same department.
Yeah.
So because of that, it wasn't hard to really dictate certain pace. Some of them are over than me in terms of running experience and also in the ranking structure. However, they gave me my respect because of what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
I understudied Mr. Martin, and when I went the first year, this will be my third year. When I went the first year, I was kind of even though I wasn't the one running, but I was a bit jittery because there are a lot of rules, and these rules are some rules you got to make sure that if you break them, then you know the team punish for it, not just me, the team punish for it.
What kind of rules?
Because they know if you're on the road and you don't have the proper equipment to catch a runner, you have to make sure you have water and blanket, towel, and when the runner comes to you, you got to be strong enough to make sure that you hold them in your arms, cover them with the blanket like a swift move.
Yeah.
So that never been a problem for me for prepare them.
Yeah.
And since then, that year I think we came in third.
Yeah.
That year we came in third. We came back. We re-strategize. We work with each other. I look for different areas to where I could take them to improve themselves or empower themselves more. So we do a lot of hill works. Marianne Jones work perfectly for us.
Okay.
Because the stairs build up the legs and the calves, and of course the abs.
Yeah.
Because within those are the three parts of your body that makes you a super runner or a strong runner.
Yeah.
So Armenia to Belmopan is another area that we go and we train those hills and so forth. So it wasn't a problem for me.
How you get them ready for the cold?
Cold or another thing, like what Davis said. Yara Belize are below sea level, right? Up here another like at least about 5,000 over sea level. So what we do is that we pressure ourselves. We pressure ourselves to the extent. I mean, we are close to the medic department. So if you should drop, they pick you up right away and then take ready.
That's the level
You
of training
understand?
you guys are talking
That's the
about.
level that we train.
Yeah.
So what we do in that case, we hydrate one lot because you know the more fluid you put in your body, the better your performance. So you'll find that sometimes for the morning workout session, we drink 5-6 bag of pouch water.
Wow.
So boiling pouch water has been working thus far.
Yeah.
And that's how we prepare ourselves for the cold.
But the other thing is too, since the first time experience, is that you're also very rigorous in your selection.
Oh
right?
yes.
You got to qualify to be
You
on
gotta
this team.
qualify.
Nobody come back by what you did last year.
It don't matter what you win last year.
That's right. That's right.
Selections that started in September to get the runners on.
The 20 runners.
Get the 20.
25 to be exact.
25 alternate. We have 5 were identified for the stage and then 20 identified for stage, but each of those alternate has to be prepared to take that 10 or that 4.5 or that 7 anytime that a runner is not able to make it.
What has this done in terms of motivation? As the athlete yourself, you had that first time experience. Clearly you qualified to return again. So when you come back from this race, you already know you got to keep yourself or get yourself ready for the next run?
You have to stay top of your game. So they got various races in Belize, which we normally do in order to stay in shape.
Well, for me, I do not like to lose. So I do not like to lose. I'm a very competitive person. So for me, like I am one of the senior guys, right? So I'm like a role model to the other guys. So what I do is I am a yearly athlete. I train and train and train. I only can get better. So I make sure my physical standard is very high so I can be a support to the other guys and they can see I also want to train like me. So that's my role on the team up to now.
Talk to us about the competition. What's this competition like and what are these guys saying out there?
The competition is fierce. It's 289 teams that we are going up against this year that has registered. That we've seen last year it was around 285. And they're coming and everybody is supporter for us. As close as the Los Angeles Sheriff Department there. And you guys, Belize, you're amazing. California, Highway Patrol, all the other teams, big names, a team from New York, the guys come over and bring a shirt. I'm looking for the captain and the chief from Belize and I get a shirt. And it's amazing the kind of camaraderie that we build among these law enforcement agencies, the district attorneys, the Customs and Border Protection, all these agencies, U.S. Coast Guard, and so on, and they find bodies in that area. Some of my guys have contacts with the different areas in the different police departments and so on, and it's just amazing the kind of networking. And somebody, I went to Belize, you guys are amazing. Where do you guys train?
What do we eat? What do we eat?
It's that thing. So it's law enforcement, and we also build that kind of capture somebody coming to Belize. You know, when you see 25 or 32 persons from Belize leaving to go up there and on the, whatever airline we're flying in or out of, wow, and going to Belize and somebody is taking photographs, something, and we're there. So we run under the Belize National Police, and we run under an organization called the Belize Protectors Association. It's a registered organization. And so on. So we're looking this morning for some monies besides running our mouth. We're running towards getting funds from the Belizean public out there. Thanks for the persons who have given for us all years, and we're looking forward to raising our monies this year so that we can get to Las Vegas.
You have to cover your own costs to get there?
Covering our own costs. The association takes care of the cost in some of our agencies take care of the little daily stipends for the runners and so on. Some of the committee members like Ms. Eudine Cooper, Mr. Ellison, Ellison Flowers, Dr. Michael Pitts, and so on, and Miss Lilith Bartley, they're all in the committee selling turkey dinner and doing fundraising to make sure that we meet this 129,000 Belize dollars that takes from
129
tickets,
Doing-
jerseys,
doing a lot of dollar drive.
129,000, so to get us there. So we have a bank account number for you, John. I see you're getting ready to put that money in. We have a Heritage Bank account, 9131219, and you can deposit any sum of money there under the Belize Protectors Association. We're looking forward this year again to get your support to make this run a success. And to
Where are you in reaching the target?
We are very far away, maybe 6% if we're away and started.
Away from that
But
100%.
we are better off than some years that we had, because we came back this year with our bills and everything cleared off. So we're starting now. We have the usual donors, letters have been going out, we've had our pledges. We were looking to do something like a telethon or something, we team up with an organization to do that. And again, Open Your Eyes has been always grateful for us to get the word out there, and you can reach us at Belize Protectors Association. Anywhere, any amount is going
Well, we
on
are
there.
so proud of you guys. I mean,
Very,
listen, this
very
is
good.
you're not just going out there and running against anybody, you know.
No.
This is the top of the forces in the United States and from other countries as well.
We don't have, we have maybe about two marathons in Belize over a year. So and it's the guys that are making these things happen. So when you go up to Los Angeles, there is a number of running organization going on trying to impact us, but it's difficult. So we put all our efforts to the law enforcement challenge. 8,000 runners, thousands of people, chief of police from across the U.S.
So who's usually the team to beat?
LAPD.
LAPD.
Yeah.
How do you guys look when you get out there?
Tall, very, very tall. The legs,
shape.
yes,
Oh.
they're in shape. Yeah.
They are runners.
LAPD. We're not even 7 years back to back. We was the first international country to break the record. Yes. Yeah. We're the first international.
So they
country.
give you guys a respect.
So
Yes,
this
they give
year
us
the
a
team,
respect.
the team
A lot of
to
respect.
beat would be Belize.
Yeah.
Team to
Again,
beat would be
we
Belize.
won. We beat LAPD by 51 seconds.
51. That's close.
51 seconds. We start running at 5 p.m. Together with LAPD. So my first runner is among 29 other runners there, and he is there. The media comes up and interview him. There's a local media there. So what brings you here from Belize? You don't have desert. You don't have cold. Are you guys serious? And so we're gonna give it our best shot. And 12 hours and 49 minutes, 44 seconds down the road, the guys there like, you guys made it.
And who's that sprinter in the end? How long is the last leg?
4 miles and change.
All right, so that one has some pressure on
4.6.
them.
4.6
this year,
and that's because just before the like 17, like 18, like 19, like 20, they were ahead of us by like about 5 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah, that's like
And
a mile and change.
strategy that we worked on from here worked out very well for us.
Kind of our trade secret.
Yeah. 5 minutes and change, and that's because that's over a mile.
change.
So that's the case.
But, you know, the guys put out. So when you put your money out there, you're not putting your money for, and you're saying Las Vegas. These guys, well, it's in the laws, in the bylaws of this organization. No casino business. We don't do that. And for our protectors, we don't do that. We stay in Las Vegas because that's where hotels are for us to get done. But we have to travel 120 miles out there, and it is work. When we leave here on a Thursday afternoon, we arrive in Las Vegas. It's getting booked in. You're getting food and stuff for the journey because there is no restaurant or nothing out in Pahrump and in Death Valley out there. So we have to take what our guys will use out there, water, Gatorade, fruits, snack bars and everything. So the committee does that. We have persons who have to be radio operator in a follow vehicle behind our runners.
Yes.
That person is communicating with the teams that we are taking them down and crossing and passing them and doing everything. It's a machinery.
You should come out
no other.
I'll tell you. You should come
imagine. What I
out. Just
love,
by
though,
coming out
is
and
we
supporting the
have
team, it's an experience, you know. It's an experience.
That the Belizean Americans who live near that area come out and support
every year we see more and more people from the diaspora coming out and supporting us because they start to find out. Yes, they follow us and support us.
Some of them
are
not drivers. Mr. Clifford Palacio. We have a sheriff in Los Angeles. It's Marilu Spence, the infamous, famous Mateo Cruz aunt.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
She comes out there. She was a runner. I don't know if she was a good runner, but she did work with her organization and Los Angeles Sheriff Department. So they come out and they're building that communication.
Nice.
A lot we're finding and meeting a lot of Belizeans who are out there. We have a guy from Los Angeles, from Las Vegas Police, who's from San Ignacio. I can't get his name at the moment.
Who does he root for?
Marlene, when these guys are out there, some of the team leaders, runners,
some of the team leaders from the US, they root for Belize.
To win.
They want us to beat LAPD.
They know that their team is nowhere close to coming in first or competing against LAPD and LSD. They are nowhere close to competing with those two teams.
LSD
Belize,
Las Vegas?
Belize Los Angeles
came close and went ahead by winning this competition.
No.
We bring it home.
I just have to underscore, because when you say that LAPD, Las Vegas Force, they know the weather.
Exactly. They know the terrain. They know exactly.
They have warming vans that they use to warm their runners up as they don't get out of there. They don't even think about it.
As I have fun, like along the way around like 14, like 15, you find that LAPD is like 20 minutes ahead of us. Wow. Literally 20 minutes. That's because now what I do, I would go to each one of the legs that are running next, and I tell them, listen, we're 20 minutes behind,
Yeah, we need to make this.
And so you need to bring it in.
Work that goes in before, and when you get on the stage, we have vehicles, so we have to this donation assist us in renting vehicles to take our runners to get persons up ahead, to take care of everything or fuel across that 120 mile stage. Sometimes we have to make 5 trips in one vehicle to get back, or vehicles bringing runners out and taking them in to the stage. So it's a lot of money that goes into it.
And that's the beauty about our team. What I like the most about our team, we fight for each other. So if somebody do a little bad on their leg, the other person don't know he have to even work harder to bring back. So we never give up.
So we don't fight with each other like, boy, you mess with
No. We fight. We fight for each other. We are hands in hands. You understand? So if somebody mess up, the next person don't know he will have to work. Yes, he will make it up. And I really like my team. I really like my team because of the competitiveness they have in them.
All right,
So,
boys. So it's defending champs returning this year.
Defending champs are returning. What's beautiful about it, when we're leaving, I leave ahead of these guys. I leave out 6 o'clock Saturday morning to go and do work along the stages of the tour. And I'm driving down there with vehicles are marked up and so on, like all across country, and I'm watching, and somebody with not vehicle 210 or vehicle 1, and when somebody's, and the vehicle to look for is a vehicle with the smallest number. Oh, there goes number 3. Oh, there goes number 2. But this year we are going to be number 1. Going to be number 1. So 3rd of April at the Rio Hotel, our vehicles are going to be lined up, and we are going to have Belizean flag and Belizean party and people wishing us well from there to make sure that we get there and we bring back the trophy for you.
Make sure that's what we're back the
We're in the best shape. We're looking good.
We're getting there.
We're getting. I like his coaching. You're never good enough, right?
That's how you coach. I am there comfortable with where the guys are. Because I just saw the results of us 8 miles out in on George Price Highway from Democracia to St. Matthews, and they're doing good. But the coach is saying, and I'm looking forward to make sure that we get there, we support. So we ask all the agencies, heads of department to support the runners. Family, I ask the runners to support the runners. It's none of that thing that is going to put you off track and to get us on track again. We want the
bank account.
Yeah,
Heritage
that's
Bank
what I was
account
gonna get to,
913-1219 at Heritage Bank, Belize Protectors, or you can write a check and call me or call Mr. Ellison Flowers.
I was going to ask because the diaspora may be interested in helping.
Yes,
how can they get in touch?
we've gotten great assistance out of several, out of New York, out of California, and Las Vegas. We're still looking forward to them come. Some people rent a vehicle, some people do take care of some of the rooms. Our teams are out 32 persons, so we need hotel, and it's in that season where everything is happening in Las Vegas, so it's a cost for our hotels. I don't have the figures for the hotel, but it runs us a good money for the 2nd of April to the return in the PM of the 7th of April, in the morning of the 7th of April. And again, we're looking for that $100,000. Anything you got anywhere you are across the country of Belize to support us, ladies and gentlemen, Belizean diaspora, heads of department, the monies that Belize Protectors get, it goes to a good cause.
We hear you, Senior Superintendent, and we echo your call. The competition is until April, but you got to raise your money before then. We are the defending champs, and more importantly, these are not professional athletes. These are men who serve our country in different law enforcement agencies. So the public needs to show their support. Heritage Bank account number
913-1219. Yeah,
913-1219.
And we have some people who have donated and have supported us over the years, like DFC, Social Security, Mr. Leo Batty from Premier Charters and Tours. Everything you do for Protectors, you do a bus, Mr. Leo Batty. Thank you, Mr. Leo. We get there. In front of us are the mugs that you get for that. We have
what do you fill this with afterwards?
Your choice. Your choice.
Those have never been filled, because I don't do that until I'm back safely in Belize. And what you have there is what we won last year at 19. You know, the guys in
wait, so the 2021 will have the Belize name on it?
Yes.
Nice. So you have a whole list of all the winners. And it stops at 2018. So this year's one.
Be Belize.
19 Belize. And you see all of LAPD. So they made the race, they made the course, they make the rules, and we go and take care of that. And take these guys here.
You are so right.
The course, besides all of that, the expense and all that, it's very discipline intense. Besides the coach, if a runner goes down, you have to do things to make sure that you can put another runner in, otherwise your team could be disqualified. There is a person that is called from our organization who has to work for part of a volunteering on that stage there. I do that. If you don't get there on time, if you don't register on time, if you, whatever infraction, it's time that is put on to your figure, so you will lose 5 minutes. Like if you say, drop a bottle in the desert and somebody sees you, you don't come in early, or your vest is not lighted at night, your catcher is not there. That's 10 minutes added on to your time, so you could do the best running time and you lose.
Because of the support.
It's discipline.
Gentlemen, this has been a great conversation. Very, very encouraging. I hope that people have heard. I hope people start to feel generous and that they put some money in that account or contact the Belize Protectors Association. The Baker to Vegas 2020 will be in April, but they got to get the funds secure before they get there. So show your support for Belize, the defending champions in this law enforcement race.
Number one.
Going back for another number one. If you see this glass, it's LA, and then bam, it'll have Belize. We got to put it back there again. We are going to go ahead and take that break though. When we come back, we'll have our wrap up, so stay tuned.
With over 100 years of
And we're back just like that, but we've got to go. We want to thank you so very much. It was an excellent time this morning, but I'm telling you, tomorrow is going to be another exciting day. Belize, if you've got any questions, any concerns at all, drop us a line. We're at oye@channel5belize.com.
You can also drop me a line at marlene_oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And also on Instagram at OYE Belize. Remember, don't forget to join us tomorrow when you open your eyes
to start your morning right. Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Oh my God.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.